Hey everybody, and welcome back to Cityscape Brewing. I'm Dennis Fields, and today we're doing episode 3 of our Pints and Process series. This one we're going to be talking about the mash and what is exactly happening inside that mash tun. We're going to go through a little bit about the process, what's important, what's not, what you should be trying to strive for, and what's really going on in that tub. Grab a beer, hit the subscribe button, and we'll be back after this. So you started all grain brewing, you might have been doing it for a long time, but do you really know what's happening inside of your mash tun? We all know that it's, to some extent converting starches to sugars, and that's correct, but why this specific temperature? We've all gotten our recipe sheets, or when we started brewing, we got some directions that says, okay, heat your water up to roughly 163 degrees, dump it in this thing with some malt, and you then let it sit for an hour. Well, what's happening during that process? And really what's happening is the mash process activates enzymes that naturally exist in most base malts. And there's a lot of different enzymes, so you want to activate the ones that are going to help that process of converting starches to sugars. But the temperature range really matters. And so your mash range is somewhere between 145 degrees Fahrenheit and 158 degrees Fahrenheit. And it's a fairly small window, but there's also smaller windows within that range, right? And so at 145 to 150-ish range, the mash is producing sugars that are highly fermentable. So the yeast will have no problem, they'll ferment those away and they'll make alcohol essentially, right? But in those higher ranges, anywhere from maybe 155 Fahrenheit to 158 Fahrenheit, it's harder for the yeast to then ferment those sugars. And so the temperature range matters. And there's a sweet spot, if you noticed, right in the middle between about 150 degrees to 155 degrees. Most brewers for a balanced profile beer are going to shoot for that 152 mark every time. And so you can be a couple degrees either way and you still hit that, but that's a sweet spot for most balanced beers. But some beers really ought to be, like a Saison, on the lower end, and other beers that have a thicker mouthfeel, maybe some of your stouts and porters and other things, you want to have a higher mash temp to make sure that you get that more thicker mouthfeel in your beer. And so there's also a pH range that you're shooting for in your beer as well. And so again, your pH range in your mash tun, you're shooting for around 5.1 to 5.5. And really that kind of does the same type of thing as the temperature a little bit, in that the lower will have a little bit more of a crisp flavor and then a more of a malty flavor on the other side, right? And so the process takes a little time, and so it's really important to keep that temperature consistent throughout the entire time that you're mashing. And so you don't want to fluctuate all that much, even though you can drop a degree or two, but that's why a lot of people will start out using a Rubbermaid cooler, or maybe they have a heat element to keep it at a certain temperature. I still to this day use a 10-gallon Rubbermaid cooler. I like that process of it. I probably will never go to a burner system because the mash tun stays consistently very close to the temperature that I put it in there, and so it comes out really good beer. And so if you haven't watched my video on how to make a mash tun, go ahead. I'm going to put that in the link description below, and I'll also put it right up here, wherever it is on the top of the screen here. So that video will kind of go through how to make a mash tun and then use that for brewing beer. So if you're switching from an extract kit to an all grain kit, making a mash tun is crucial. There's also another way how you can tell if your mash process is done. So there's a simple test that you can do using iodine. Okay, so here's a little bit of the mash fluid. It's a little bit of the starchy water that's in there. I pulled right away after I put this in here. And then I have a little bit of iodine tincture that I was able to just pick up at like Walgreens. And it's gonna show what this looks like when you drop it in here, if the starches have not yet been converted. So you're just gonna take this and drop it in there. And if you can see, the iodine is dark colored. See that? So it's really dark. You can tell that You can tell that it's really turning dark in there. That means that there are starches present in this and the iodine isn't turning any colors. All right, so it's been an hour now about, and we're gonna check to see if our starches have been fully converted into sugars. You're gonna take a little drop in there. Okay, and I don't know if you guys can tell at home, but you can see where the iodine drops in, but it's definitely not turning to like an iodine color, like a blue. It's staying like a brown color. And that's how you can tell that it's been converted to sugars. So when you mix it up here, you're not seeing any purplish colors going in there. It's just all like a brown color. And that's just the tincture, you can see where it is, but definitely not iodine color, like a purple, like an ink color. As always, don't forget to leave any comments or questions in the video description below. And don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. It really, really does help me out and I appreciate it. That's gonna wrap up episode 3 of the Pints in Process. It's been fun and I can't wait to do the next one. The next episode, we're gonna be talking about sparging and vorloffing. And so the lauter ton process and the lautering process. So stay tuned, hit that like and subscribe button. Cheers and happy brewing.